My name is Elena Ward, and I'm 30 years old. Here is what I remember most. The way the apartment sounded after the message landed. Not loud, not tragic, just thinner. Like someone lifted a rug and all the warmth went with it. Noah left for Miami on Saturday, a guy's trip with Liam and Raphael. I helped him zip the stubborn corner of his suitcase, kissed him in the rideshare's wash of brake lights, and told him to bring sunscreen like a mother and a girlfriend and a fool all at once. We had a lease appointment on Friday, renewal for another year, and he'd joked about celebrating with Cuban sandwiches when he got back. I believed him. I believed us. Tuesday night, my phone buzzed. Hey, had a lot of time to think out here. We need to talk when I get back. I think we should see other people. People call that a conversation starter. It isn't. It's a trapdoor labeled later. It keeps you obedient on the hook while someone else tests the water and calls it clarity. He offered me the purgatory seat. I didn't sit. I typed 3 words. Clarity is good. I hit send, turned my phone face down, and let the kitchen clock do the talking. Tick, tick. Each second was a decision. In the reflection on the black screen, I looked like somebody I almost recognized. The version of me I saved for client crises. Steady, surgical. At 9:02 a.m. the next morning, I called the landlord. Plans changed, I said. We won't be renewing. I'll vacate by Saturday, the end of term. A pause. He was kind enough to hide his surprise. If the place is clean and the keys are back on time, we're good. Good. The word echoed around the room and found nowhere to land. I started with my books. They know how to leave. Then my clothes, my hard drives, the frame prints I swore I'd hang straight in the next place. By Wednesday evening, my life sat obedient in a regiment of boxes, each with a black marker label that looked like it could outlast me. Elena. Books. Elena. Office. Elena. Winter. That's when I crossed the invisible line. Noah's side of the closet had a personality I pretended not to notice. Understated, pricey, the same 3 tones of blue he insisted were different. I pulled shirts from hangers, folded jeans that never quite fit him right, found the suit jacket he wore to his cousin's wedding, and slipped the corsage stem, pressed flat as a secret, out of the inside pocket. My throat tightened, but my hands kept moving. I separated toiletries like I was sorting evidence. I wrapped his framed photos, our framed photos. I labeled a box Noah, sentimental, then added a question mark and crossed it out. In the quiet, a thought arrived without my permission. He said, see other people, but he didn't say when. Of course he didn't. That's the genius of it, an elastic end that preserves the safety net at home while he tries on, tries out. If the tryout fails, he returns to his net and calls it a misunderstanding. If it works, he points to the text like a hall pass. Noah used to say I over-engineer things. That's fair, but I know what load the beams can and can't bear. That text was a cut on a main line, and you don't stand under a leaking ceiling and pray. You shut the water off. On Friday morning, the movers took my boxes to a smaller apartment I found in a frenzy of tabs and urgent emails. White walls, one view of a parking lot tree that already felt honest with me. When they drove off, I stood in the echo and made a list. I don't know why I made a list, except that lists are the last religion I believe in. Bring Noah's things downstairs. Buy tarps in case of rain. Patch nail holes. Bleach the oven. Return keys at 5 p.m. I have never loved a list so much. By noon, I'd moved his boxes, garment bags, and the mid-century chair he claimed to have thrifted, he didn't, down to the patch of grass by the curb. I stacked with care. I strapped with cord. The forecast said clear, but grief is a weather liar, so I went to the hardware store for 2 heavy-duty tarps. When I pulled them over the pile and smoothed the edges, the scene looked respectful. It looked like a boundary you could see from the street. Back upstairs, I cleaned like a confession. The tiny burns on the stove ring from learning to flambe. The gray ghost of a couch leg on the floorboards. The thumbprint smudges on the bedroom light switch. Ours. Proof we existed. Proof we turned the day off. Proof we woke the night. I wiped and swept and patched and polished until the apartment looked like a stage meant for someone else's play. At 5 p.m., the landlord met me in the hall. He walked through and nodded at the oven like it had told him a secret. I handed him the keys. My friend Mina snapped a photo of the handshake, a clean, ordinary moment, wearing the clothes of an ending. My smile in the picture isn't big, but it is real. It looks like a muscle remembering how. Back in my new place, I opened my laptop and did the thing you're not supposed to do, made it public. I toggled my relationship status to single. I posted the photo. Sometimes you have to close one door to open another, return the keys, and starting fresh. Clarity is a good thing. No tags, no names. It didn't matter. Within an hour, my phone began to vibrate with a choreography of outrage. A DM from Liam. Elena, what's going on? Raf saw a post from your building. Why are Noah's things on the curb? I let it blink while I drank water I suddenly tasted for the first time all day. Then I typed. On Tuesday, Noah texted that we should see other people. Our lease ends Saturday. I vacated and left his belongings for pickup. It's all covered and labeled. Dots. A pause. Then Raphael. Less grammar, more heat. This is insane. You couldn't wait to talk? I wrote nothing to him. I answered Liam again because he seemed capable of choosing verbs carefully. I respected the text. The lease timeline was fixed. The call came next. Noah. I watched it ring out and go to voicemail. It arrived a second later, his voice wet with panic. Elena, you misunderstood. This isn't what I meant. Please pick up. Then Liam's name again, but when I answered, it was Noah, voice amplified by borrowed patience. Why are you doing this? He demanded, a tremor yawning open under the words. I said we should talk. You blindsided me. I put the phone on speaker and set it on the counter. You said we should see other people. I meant when I got back, you're throwing my life out. I placed your things neatly and protected them, I said. The lease is over today. You asked for other people. I acted accordingly. A muffled scuffle, then a different voice, Raphael unable to swallow the moment. This is because of Clara, isn't it? Silence. I could hear the ocean behind them, or maybe that was just the sound of something leaving. My pulse didn't quicken. I just felt the click, the place where the puzzle finally takes the piece it's been waiting for. I don't know who Clara is, I said, my tone a winter window, but it sounds like you do. Maybe she has room for you in your things. Don't do this, Noah pleaded. You're being cruel. Cruel is an interesting word. Cruel is a knife that insists it's a spoon. Cruel leaves you dangling for a week while it drafts options. Boundary is a door that closes in daylight. Take care, Noah, I said. The keys are back with the landlord. After I hung up, the apartment didn't feel triumphant. It felt quiet, exhausted, whole. I slid the phone into a drawer and let the drawer close like a lid. Later, an email. Subject line, move out confirmation. Elena, just a heads up. Noah called upset. I confirmed you vacated legally at end of lease, and he has no tenancy rights going forward. Apartment looks great. Hope you're okay. I stared at okay. It was the first time the word didn't feel like a lie I told my friends when I didn't want them to worry. I wasn't happy, not then, but I was precise, and sometimes precision is the mercy you can afford. On the new nightstand, really a stack of books pretending, I set one final box I hadn't labeled. Inside was the pressed corsage stem, the ticket stub from the first concert we left early because we preferred the rain, a Polaroid where we looked like we'd never learn how to disappoint each other. I closed the lid gently. Tomorrow I'd put it somewhere that made sense. Tonight I let it breathe with me in the dark. In the distance, thunder. Or maybe a truck. Hard to tell in a new neighborhood. Either way, I had tarps. At dawn, the city yawned, and the street outside our old building did too. Delivery trucks murmuring. A jogger tapping past like a metronome. I came back with coffee and twine, because care dressed in ordinary clothes is still care. The pile by the curb looked like the luggage of a life between gates. I tightened the cords, retaped the corners, and slid a handwritten note into a clear sleeve I'd taped to the top box. Belongings for Noah Ward. Pickup arranged. Please do not remove. A woman pushing a stroller slowed. Big move? Small one, I said, and for once the truth made the world easier to hold. I didn't feel vicious. I felt like a person who'd finally listened to what was said, not what I wanted it to mean. There are a dozen kinds of cruelty. The quietest is letting someone keep believing there will be a soft landing. The building's doorman, new, baby-faced, hovered at the edge of the lawn. Miss Ward, are you sure about the curb? Lease ends today, I said. His things are packed, labeled, covered. He's back tomorrow. I flashed him the polite smile you use for people who don't know the plot but can sense the music. Upstairs, I did one last sweep to make sure I wasn't leaving any ghosts. In the bathroom cabinet, Noah's razor, a good one, all chrome performance and promises, glinted like it had something to say. I dropped it in the Noah bath box and sealed it shut. By 10 a.m., the wind began to gossip with the tarps. I secured the edges with a couple of dumbbells we never used for anything but optimism. It looked like a campsite for a person who never liked camping. And then the day did what days do in 2025. It lit itself on fire in my phone. Liam again. He's freaking out. He says you blindsided him. Me. He said, see other people. I complied. Raphael, a minute later, punctuated like a car crash. Elena, you're unbelievable. You're humiliating him. Me. The lease timing is public record, Raph. Pickup is easy. Tell him to call a mover. 3 dots. Then nothing. Offstage thunder dressed as restraint. A notification sparked from a neighborhood app. Someone had posted a photo of a massive, neatly packed pile in front of our building, asking if it was a curb alert or a hazard. The comments multiplied like weeds. Fernando.k. Wild. Hope someone didn't get evicted. At Rebecca.c. Looks labeled. Maybe donor drop. At CMG. Is that a Peloton under there, or am I manifesting? I didn't correct anyone. Speculation is a cat that doesn't answer to its name. Just after noon, I felt the first fat drop. Reflex had me check the forecast again. Still clear, but there it was on my forearm. Undeniable. I tugged the tarp snug, then dragged the pile 6 inches farther from the curb to avoid splashback from passing cars. Care, again. I imagined someone accusing me online of throwing his life into the street. The sentence came preloaded with a pitchfork. Only a handful of people would see the knots I'd tied, the labels aligned as if that quiet could stand guard. That had to be enough. My ringtone broke the street's rhythm. Noah's name, the photo of him in a 2-white shirt at his sister's graduation, eyes closed against the sun, like he knew how the future would feel. I let it ring. When it dove to voicemail, I didn't listen. I'd already heard the version he knew how to tell. I had misunderstood the terms and conditions of his exit ramp. 2 teenagers stopped and peered beneath the tarp. One pointed at a box corner and said, "Dude, these are nice." I leaned over the railing. "Pick up today?" I called. "Please don't take anything." They looked up, saw the kind of face that doesn't lie, and shrugged away. I hated that relief arrived as a win marked by 2 boys not stealing socks that didn't belong to them. Back in my new apartment, I tried to eat. A bite of toast turned cinematic. Too bright, every crumb a choice I was failing at. The quiet here is different. It doesn't know our fights by heart. It doesn't know how we fit. My phone buzzed again, a new number. "Elena, it's Dina." A voice from the office. HR but human. Soft edges, careful vowels. "Noah just called in sick and, well, distressed. He's worried about his belongings. He asked if I could reach out to you because you're not answering. I hate to be involved, but..." "He can arrange pickup," I said. "Everything's labeled and dry." The note says, "Please don't remove." I'm not being punitive, Dina. I'm being precise. "I believe you," she said, surprise naked in her throat. "I just wanted to check." He sounded like she didn't finish the sentence. Sometimes kindness is knowing where to stop. After we hung up, I scrolled without target and found myself on Noah's profile. Nothing new. A throwback photo of a beach with a caption about the view doing something to his soul. The usual flattering lies. But a mutual friend had posted a story. Glasses clinking, neon sign, a slice of Miami night, and in a blink of the mirror behind them, a familiar jawline bent toward a woman with black hair and a laugh he'd once called trouble. It could have been anyone. It could have been Clara. It could have been a trick of light folding strangers into a coincidence I was primed to see. The mind loves patterns. The heart loves proofs. I put the phone face down and pressed my palms to my eyes until the fireworks came. That old trick I learned in childhood when I wanted to see something bright that didn't hurt anyone. At 4:45, I went back to the old place to breathe the last breaths. The hallway smelled like someone's new cooking and last night's garbage. Inside, the apartment looked holy, blank and expectant, a place that hadn't yet learned not to trust its tenants. The landlord arrived at 5 with a clipboard and the expression of a man who knows people do worse to each other. "Looks great," he said. "Better than when you moved in." He paused at the window, peered down. "He'll be back tomorrow?" "Tonight, if he wants," I said. "The pile's right there. I bought tarps." He looked at me, a long, measured look that tried not to be pity. "Take care of yourself," he said, as if my name were heavier than usual. We shook hands. Mina, who'd shown up quietly, took the photo again. this time from a different angle, the window's reflection catching the two of us and the emptied room. She hugged me so fast, so tight, the pose broke into something real. "You're sure?" she whispered into my shoulder. "No," I said, "and yes." We walked out together. On the sidewalk, I checked the cords one last time. Across the street, a couple watched with the compassion strangers give when they're glad it's not them. The woman nodded at me. I nodded back, an exchange rate of grief to grace that felt oddly fair. By 6, I was home in the new place, and the evening lit up with the second wave. A group thread I'd forgotten still existed erupted. Noah had found Wi-Fi in an audience. Noah, imagine being abandoned and having your belongings dumped on the curb. That's the kind of person she is. He didn't name me. He didn't need to. Images travel faster than pronouns. Reactions stacked. Angry faces, gasps, the verbal equivalent of flung hands. A couple of mutuals DM'd privately, not to judge, but to ask, "What happened? Are you okay?" I sent them the screenshot of his Tuesday text. Nothing else. When a story is clear, you don't add spin to it. You let it sit there like a fact in daylight. Raphael messaged again. "You're making him look like a monster." Me. I didn't write his text. Liam, minutes later, gentler. "He didn't mean now. He meant after you talked." Me. Ambiguity protects the person who wrote it, not the person who received it. 3 dots. Then, "He might have messed up," Liam sent. And the ellipsis wasn't just punctuation. It was a wound. "But this is public." Public was his choice, I wrote, and immediately questioned if that was generosity or self-defense. Maybe both. So much of love is an exchange of reasonable doubts. At 8, rain came for real, the sudden, cinematic kind, rude and honest. I stood at the new window and watched the dark pooling around tires. Across town, under a double tarp and a note, Noah's life breathed in a damp city and waited for him. A dramatic person would call it poetry. I called it weather. My phone rang again. New number, no profile photo. I almost silenced it until I noticed the area code I knew by heart from holiday cards and a framed graduation photo on a mantel crowded with scented candles. I answered. "Hello?" A composed voice, lacquered with the kind of manners that curdle when they think they're owed something. "Is this Elena? This is Margaret Ward, Noah's mother." I leaned back against the wall. The paint was cool, newly mine. Outside, the rain whispered like a warning. Inside, a new scene opened its mouth. "Yes," I said. "We need to talk," she said, each word chosen like a pearl. "About what you've done." Behind her poise, I heard the breath of someone who'd already picked a side and written a verdict. In the ash of my day, a small coal brightened. Anger, or maybe just oxygen finding a path. "What I've done," I repeated, slow enough to set the table. "You've humiliated my son," she continued, "and you will fix it." There it was, the familiar family script, debuting on my smaller stage. I closed my eyes and saw tarps, labels, the handshake, the oven clean enough to see my face. "Mrs. Ward," I said, "did Noah tell you what he texted me on Tuesday?" A pause, the kind sparrows don't make. "He said you misunderstood him." I looked at the drawer where my phone and the screenshot inside it slept like a loaded truth. Outside, the rain thickened. Somewhere a cord cinched against a tarp. Somewhere a box label bled a little ink and still made sense. "I didn't," I said, and the line went quiet in a way that promised the next hour would ask me whether I believed in my own boundaries as much as I claimed. Margaret Ward didn't yell. She enunciated, the kind of tone that made waiters apologize for her mistakes. "Elena," she said, slow as syrup, "my son came home to find his life strewn across a public sidewalk. Do you understand how that looks?" I let the silence stretch. She mistook it for guilt. "He says you misinterpreted a message," she continued. "He wanted space, not exile. You could have waited for a proper conversation." "I interpreted what was written," I said. "He texted that he wanted to see other people. I made space for him to do that." "That's not space, dear. That's cruelty." There it was again, the word that everyone keeps in their back pocket for women who don't collapse the way they're expected to. I took a slow breath. "Mrs. Ward, your son ended our relationship. Our lease was ending. I vacated as agreed. His things were left clean, covered, and protected." "You could have at least renewed until he was home," she snapped. "He's distraught. He says this is because of that girl he saw at the beach, isn't it?" There was a pause, a microsecond too long before she added, I mean, whatever he told you. And that was it. The tiny seam that split the story open. A girl at the beach. A girl with a name I didn't yet know. I didn't ask about anyone else, I said softly. But thank you for confirming there was someone to ask about. She inhaled sharply. You're twisting my words. No, I'm just hearing them, I said. Have a good evening. Then I hung up. That night, my phone became a live wire. Unknown numbers, private IDs, one voice after another, like a chorus of ghosts rehearsing a tragedy that wasn't theirs. Noah called again. Voicemail. Elena, please, you don't understand what you've done. It was supposed to be a break, not this. Then another call from a number labeled Liam. When I picked up, it was him. Tired, conflicted. He's a mess, Liam said. He's been crying all night. He's embarrassed. So am I said. But we're embarrassed for different reasons. Elena, be honest. This isn't just about the text. This is about Clara, isn't it? I didn't answer. He exhaled, realizing too late what he'd revealed. Who's Clara? I asked quietly. A pause. Then, Noah's ex. They ran into each other in Miami. It wasn't planned, I think, but he told me she's been texting since before the trip. And there it was. The shadow I'd been feeling for weeks finally stepped into the light. Thanks for confirming, I said. Tell him I wish him and Clara all the clarity in the world. Elena. But I hung up before he could twist it into sympathy. By morning, the online spin cycle had started. Noah posted a black and white selfie, face half lit, captioned, Sometimes people don't see your heart until they've crushed it. Comments poured in like rain. You deserve better. Stay strong. Some women don't know what they have. He didn't tag me. He didn't have to. Everyone knew who some women was. I didn't respond. I just sent the screenshot of his breakup text to the handful of mutuals who asked privately, what happened? It traveled faster than I intended. By lunchtime, his post was gone. But the silence that replaced it wasn't victory. It was just space. The kind that hums with unfinished business. Thursday afternoon, my inbox pinged. A message from the landlord. Elena, just wanted to update you. Noah came by to collect his belongings. He was upset, but I confirmed the move-out was legal and final. No further tenancy obligations on your end. Apartment's already relisted. Take care of yourself. Relief came slow, almost reluctant. Legal, final. The two words I'd been waiting to hear since the text detonated. But that evening, as I was making dinner in the new place, my phone buzzed again. A video call. The name on the screen. Clara S. I froze. It rang once, twice, then stopped. A minute later, a message appeared. Clara. Hey, I think we need to talk. Not trying to start anything, just think you deserve the truth. My chest tightened, not in fear, but in that cold way you brace for impact. I stared at the message until the words blurred. For 3 years, Noah's world had been mine. His friends, his mother, his silence. Every time something felt off, he'd called it overthinking. Every time I asked questions, he'd said, You're reading too much into it. Now the ghosts were texting me themselves. I typed back, If this is about Miami, I already know enough. She replied almost instantly, You probably don't. Call if you want the real version. I didn't, but I didn't block her either. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling fan carving slow circles through the dark. Somewhere out there, Noah was rehearsing his side of the story to anyone who'd listen. Somewhere else, Clara was crafting hers. And me? I was the only one not auditioning. The next morning brought sunlight that looked like forgiveness and felt like surveillance. Another message blinked on my screen, this time from an unknown number, a single line. You think you're so smart, but you'll see what happens when you humiliate people. No signature, no need for one. I screenshotted it, saved it, labeled it Evidence 1. I wasn't scared, just done. That afternoon, Jessica, one of Noah's old colleagues, called. She was breathless, voice cracking between frustration and apology. Elena, look, I know this is weird, but I needed to tell you something before it turns uglier. Noah and Clara were together that whole week in Miami. Everyone saw. She's been bragging about it. Said he'd soft-launched the breakup before leaving. Soft-launched, I repeated, like a product test. Exactly. I told him it was messed up, but he said you'd understand when he got back, that you'd forgive him once he explained. I laughed. Not the funny kind, the kind that sounds like something being released from pressure. Thanks for letting me know, Jess. I just thought you deserved to hear it from someone decent. I appreciate it, I said. You did more than you know. When I hung up, I realized my hands were trembling, not from anger, but relief. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. The fracture had been there all along. I'd just stopped pretending not to see it. That night, I wrote myself a note and taped it to the mirror. You didn't burn it down. You just stopped holding the match for him. I brushed my teeth, turned off my phone, and went to bed under the sound of rain that felt, for the first time, like something cleansing instead of cruel. Somewhere across town, Noah was probably drafting a new post, a new version, a new apology he'd never send. And somewhere, Clara was learning the truth about what happens when the backup plan walks away. Tomorrow would bring its own kind of storm. His family, his followers, maybe even a lawyer. But for now, I had what he claimed he wanted. 2 days later, I woke to a storm of notifications. Not from work, not from friends, from strangers. Someone had tagged me in a thread, a woman's post. I recognized the filtered glow, the faux vulnerability, the heartbreak font. It was Clara. I never thought honesty would cost this much, it read. But sometimes we meet the right person at the wrong time. Please be kind. Everyone's hurting. Attached were 2 photos, one of her and Noah laughing under palm trees, one of a pile of boxes under a tarp, my tarp, blurred but recognizable. Her followers flooded in. That poor man! People are so heartless. Imagine throwing someone's life out like that. I scrolled, my stomach still, my mind already drawing blueprints. It was a public spin now. Curated victimhood, repackaged heartbreak. Noah and Clara, 2 co-authors of a fiction where I was the villain. By noon, the first phone call came. Elena, honey, Margaret's voice again, rehearsed for pity now. I've seen the photos. Surely you can see how this looks. Can't you post something? A clarification? An apology? For Noah's reputation, at least? I almost smiled. His reputation is fine. It's his timeline that's messy. Excuse me? Your son was in Miami with Clara the same week he told me to see other people. That's not interpretation. That's sequence. Her voice sharpened. You don't have proof. Actually, I said, I do. Because I did. A small, trembling message from Jessica had arrived an hour earlier. She posted it first. I'm sorry, Elena. Here's the story she sent to her close friends before deleting it. Screenshot attached. Clara's manicured hand over Noah's on a balcony, time-stamped 3 days before his text. There it was, the receipt. Proof of overlap. Proof of premeditation. That evening, I posted once. Just once, a simple, still image, a cropped screenshot of the original text from Noah. Hey, had a lot of time to think out here. We need to talk when I get back. I think we should see other people. No caption, no hashtags, no commentary. The internet doesn't like silence. It fills it. Comments rolled in. Oh, so he really said that. Guess context matters. By midnight, Clara's post disappeared. Noah's too. But my phone buzzed one last time before I slept. A text from an unknown number. You think this makes you right? You ruined everything. No name, but I could hear his tone through the punctuation. Clipped, defensive, still somehow convinced he was the victim of the truth. The next morning, I opened my email to a message from Mrs. Ward again, longer this time, written like a sermon. You've humiliated my family. You've taken private pain and made it public. This isn't who I thought you were. I hope you can live with what you've done. I typed one sentence in reply. Your son wanted to see other people. I simply let him. Then I archived the thread. A week later, the landlord texted again. Quick heads up. The storage company called. They said Noah hasn't paid the balance for his unit. If you get any requests for money, ignore them. I didn't answer right away. I walked over to the window of my new apartment, the quiet one with the honest tree, and watched a family unload boxes across the parking lot. New tenants. Fresh beginnings. I thought about all the ways endings get rewritten, how often people dress up cowardice as heartbreak, how clean endings look cruel to the ones who never intended to stop. That night, I made tea, opened my laptop, and wrote an email. No tears, no monologue, just paperwork. Subject, notice of contact boundary. Noah, any further attempts to reach me directly, publicly, or privately will be considered harassment. Please communicate through legal counsel if necessary. E.W. I CC'd my lawyer. Sent. The quiet afterward wasn't empty. It was exact. A few days later, a message arrived from an unexpected name, Jessica again. Just so you know, they broke up. Clara found out he'd been messaging someone else even after Miami. She told everyone he lied about the timeline. She feels stupid now. Said you handled it better than she ever could. I didn't gloat. I didn't even smile. I just felt confirmed. For the first time in weeks, I slept through the night. Sunday morning, I woke to sunlight painting the walls, my walls, in gold. A check lay on the kitchen counter, the full security deposit, mailed from the landlord, with a note scrawled across the envelope. Apartment was spotless. Appreciate the professionalism. Wishing you the best. I set the note down gently. There was something deeply poetic about bureaucracy signing off your heartbreak. Noah's name no longer sat in my notifications. Clara's account was private. The world had quietly moved on. But in my chest, something unexpected settled. Not triumph, not bitterness, just relief shaped like air. I walked to the balcony, mug in hand, and looked at the city breathing below. The wind was soft. The world didn't owe me closure. It just stopped arguing with me about what the truth was. Sometimes you don't win. You just stop losing. It's been 2 months now. No explosions, no texts, no, we need to talk. Just the kind of silence that doesn't echo anymore. I still wake sometimes expecting a message from him, a long apology maybe, or one of those half-hearted, hope you're well, texts people send when they want to test if the bridge still stands. It never comes, and somehow, that's better. My new apartment smells like lemon cleaner and coffee. It's smaller, yes, one window, one closet, one key that only fits my hand. But it's mine. There's no second toothbrush by the sink, no shared calendar full of someone else's plans, no passive-aggressive silence humming through the walls. On the counter sits the check the landlord sent. I haven't cashed it yet. Every time I look at it, it reminds me of something I learned too late. Peace of mind has a security deposit too. You pay it with time, with tears, and if you're lucky, you get some of it back. I found out what happened after. Not because I asked, because gossip, like smoke, finds every crack. Noah tried to spin his story one more time, said I'd overreacted, said I was cold. It didn't last. Jessica told me that Clara ended things within a week. Apparently, she found out he was texting yet another woman from the trip, the kind of irony that doesn't need punchlines. He lost the job not long after. HR found out he'd been using the company card for client dinners that weren't client anything. His mother posted a cryptic Bible quote about betrayal and forgiveness. His friends stopped defending him when the receipts started to circulate. The internet did what it always does, moved on. The world stopped caring. But me, I kept the stillness. Last week, a new envelope showed up in my mailbox. No return address, just my name written in handwriting I once loved. I stared at it for a long minute before opening it. Inside was a single page. No greeting, no signature, just words. You didn't have to humiliate me like that. I made a mistake. I know that now. I wanted time to think, and you took that from me. I lost everything. I hope you're happy. I read it twice. Then I folded it once, neatly, and slid it back into the envelope. No response. No need. People like Noah believe time is something they control, that they can put life on pause while they audition replacements. But the truth is simpler. Time keeps moving, whether you look up or not. That evening, I went for a walk through the old neighborhood. The building looked the same, but the grass where I'd once stacked his boxes had grown over, clean and green again. The city had swallowed our story whole and digested it into background noise. I stood across the street, watching someone new move in, laughing, dropping boxes, starting fresh. I didn't feel anger. I didn't even feel sadness. I just felt distance, like I'd finally stepped outside the photo we used to live in. When I got home, I poured wine into a mug, sat on the balcony, and watched the sunset bleed orange across the skyline. I thought about the first text that started it all. We need to talk. I think we should see other people. For weeks, I'd obsessed over the cruelty of it, the vagueness, the cowardice. But now I could almost laugh. He was right in a way. He did need to see other people. He just didn't expect to see who he really was in the process. And me? I finally saw myself. Not as the woman who was left waiting for an explanation, but as the one who decided waiting wasn't the only option. Sometimes closure doesn't come with fireworks. Sometimes it comes in the form of a quiet apartment, a full refund, and a world that stops spinning around someone else's indecision. Noah wanted freedom. I gave it to him. Instantly, irrevocably, and without apology. He thought he could press pause on me while he explored his options. What he didn't know was that some people don't have a pause button. They have an off switch, and I finally learned how to use mine.